It's time again for the Urban Chicken Podcast. Hey, let's talk chicken. And welcome to episode 8 of the Urban Chicken Podcast, where all things chicken are discussed and considered. My name is Jennifer, and I am your host. On this week's show, we are going to discuss egg eating. How does it start? Why does it start? How does it get out of control? And how you can nip it in the bud. In the Sally Side Note segment today, I am going to talk about all of the hoopla caused this past week by an NPR article on chicken diapers. I'm also going to discuss why chicken diapers, chicken saddles, and the whole other array of chicken accessories are not nearly as ridiculous as the non-chicken keeping world seems to think. Before I turn to this week's chicken news, I need to announce the winner of last week's show's contest. On last week's show, I announced that I was holding a contest to win a copy of Chris Gleason's book, The Art of the Chicken Coop. And you had to either like the Urban Chicken Podcast's Facebook page, or you could follow the Urban Chicken Podcast Twitter feed and retweet the post with a link to the Chris Gleason show interview. If you did both, you would get 2 entries into the contest. So we have a winner to that contest. After putting all of the contestants' entries into a bowl, a name was drawn from that by my sister at random. So, the winner of Chris Gleason's book, The Art of the Chicken Coop, goes to Aaron Reed of Eugene, Oregon. Aaron liked the Urban Chicken Podcast's Facebook page. Sincerely thank you to everyone who took time to participate in this contest. I do encourage you to keep listening because there will be more giveaways in the future. Let's turn now to what's new in national chicken news. Lauren Scheuer is an author-illustrator who keeps a blog about her adventures in backyard chicken owning. Her blog, Scratch and Peck, is a charming blend of anecdotal stories, pictures, and drawings of her hens, some of whom are named Little White, Lucy, and Pigeon. I particularly enjoyed Ms. Scheuer's blog entry instructing on how to hand-draw chickens. She actually makes me want to learn how to draw funny, quippy little illustrations of my own crazy chickens, too. Ms. Scheuer has recently released a new book titled Once Upon a Flock, Life with My Soulful Chickens, in which she writes about her adventures and misadventures in keeping chickens. Ms. Scheuer was interviewed live on a radio show out of Tampa, Florida called Talking Animals this past Wednesday, May 1st. On the program, Ms. Scheuer talks about her close relationship to her flock. And in particular, she talks about one hen who was afflicted with Merrick's disease and yet managed to live through it all, go on to hatch and raise a chick, all with her help. Ms. Scheuer gives some insight into the social world of chickens in this interview and at length in her autobiographical book, Once Upon a Flock, which details the lives of her chickens and in some ways her being allowed entry into their world. I will provide a link to a recording of the radio show interview with Ms. Scheuer so that you can hear her talk about her chickens, her new book, and much more in today's show notes on the Urban Chicken Podcast webpage. It's now time for the main segment. Egg eating. It's a habit that you do not want your flock to pick up because once this bad habit begins, it can be near impossible to break. There are a number of reasons given out there as to what might be the cause root of egg eating in any flock. One suggested reason why chickens take up egg eating is that they may have a deficient diet. Chickens are not vegetarians. They are omnivores and they need plenty of calcium and protein to support their bodies and egg production. It is believed that chickens who are not receiving a diet high enough in protein and calcium will sometimes turn to egg eating to supplement those needs. An even simpler cause for egg eating than lack of protein and calcium is just a simple lack of food. An overlooked or forgotten flock that is underfed will often turn to scrounging up more food. What food is available in a coop? Plenty of eggs. Dehydration may also be the root of an egg-pecking problem. Birds that are not getting enough clean water will sometimes turn to egg pecking and egg eating to get the liquid content. Another cause at the root of egg eating is often boredom. Boredom is probably one of the most common reasons why chickens start egg pecking. Contrary to popular belief, chickens are not stupid animals. Rather, they are clever creatures that need to have an interesting and engaging environment. When they are confined to a space with nothing to do, you will see naughty behaviors develop. Lastly, curiosity can be another main cause of egg eating. Chickens like to hunt, run, and explore. If they come across a broken egg, they are going to be curious and give it a taste. If they are cooped up and they're bored, they may become naughty and curious to try something new, such as pecking eggs only to find out they have delicious gooey centers to them. Those are probably the most common main root causes as to why chickens start to egg eat. Now let's talk about how egg eating often begins. More often than not, egg eating begins with an accident and ends in trouble. What I mean by that is egg eating begins when an egg is broken by accident, not actually on purpose. There can be a number of reasons and ways why an egg would get accidentally broken inside your coop. For example, maybe you don't have enough soft bedding in a nest box and eggs can get accidentally broken as a hen enters or leaves that nest box. Next, maybe you don't have enough nest boxes for the number of hens that you have. If you don't have enough nest boxes, your boxes are going to get a lot of traffic, and all of those birds in and out of a few boxes can accidentally break an egg. Maybe you have a broody hen. Broody hens are nest box hogs. And if you've got a broody hen that's hogging up at least one of the nest boxes, then that means all of your other hens are going to have to turn to the remainder box or boxes that you have. Again, that could cause an awful lot of traffic in and out of the remaining nest box or nest boxes because one broody hen is hogging up some space. Another reason how egg eating can start is perhaps you made a big mistake. And that mistake would be that you came across a broken egg and thought, waste not, want not, let's just throw that in the coop and the chickens will eat it. Uh-oh, trouble ahead. Because putting a broken egg or egg shells back into the coop in a raw form will actually help the bird link up in his or her head that eggs equal food. And once a bird gets a taste for the deliciousness of the inside of an egg, it's very hard to break them of it. So putting a broken egg or serving up chickens' eggs or egg shells in an egg or eggshell form is a quick way to start egg eating in your coop. Another reason why it might be your fault egg eating is beginning in the coop is perhaps you're leaving eggs too long in the coop. The longer an egg sits unattended in a coop, the more likely it is going to get broken. Once an egg is broken and left in a coop, that's just inviting trouble. Another common reason how egg eating starts is perhaps you have a new young layer and her eggshells are still, a little bit wonky. They're still a little soft and a little fragile. Newer chickens tend to lay eggs that are more easily broken. Again, this is another good argument for getting eggs out of the coop as soon as possible. Lastly, another way egg eating often starts is that perhaps your nest box or nest boxes are on the floor of the coop. If you put your nest boxes on the floor of the coop, then you've got to realize that the eggs in those boxes will be at the chicken's eye level, and it's awful convenient to get to too, which means that a bored or curious bird that just happens to be doo-doo-doo-doo-doo passing by will more often see those eggs, and being bored and curious, they may go ahead and help themselves to a snack. The bottom line is, though, that once a chicken tastes a broken egg and links up in his or her mind that eggs equal food, you have trouble on your hands. Not only are you going to have that chicken be an egg eater, you got to remember chickens are social creatures, and once one of them knows about the secret delicious center of an egg, that chicken will go and teach all the other chickens in your coop to also be egg eaters. A problem with one egg-eating bird can quickly turn into a problem with an egg-eating flock. So let's talk about some different strategies that you can put into place to help prevent egg eating from ever starting in your flock in the first place. First of all, make sure that you provide at all times enough clean water for all your birds. Second, along that same vein of thinking, make sure that you provide plenty of food high in protein and also plenty of calcium to your flock. You can get all of your birds enough protein by giving them a layers feed with at least 16% protein content. You can also provide your birds with plenty of calcium by adding crushed oyster shells to your flock's food. Another basic way that you can prevent egg eating from even starting in the first place is make sure that you have plenty of nest box space for all of your birds. A rule of thumb is that you generally need at least one nesting box for every 4 birds. Moreover, make sure that those nesting boxes are up off the floor. Out of sight, out of mind. If the birds can't see the eggs inside the nesting boxes, all the better. Additionally, make sure that you have plenty of soft nesting material inside all of your nesting boxes to prevent accidental breakages. Another important tip is that you must remove any broken eggs from a coop or a nesting box immediately. Be sure and change out all the bedding that may have egg residue on it. You really don't want to leave any little tasty treats behind, even in part. Another important strategy is that if you have a broody hen, remove an isolator. It's important that you take the nesting box hogs out of the coop so that the rest of the boxes don't get overly crowded. Another benefit to isolating a broody hen is that a little time in solitary will usually break her of her broody behaviors. If bored chickens might be your problem, then an important strategy is to give your chickens something to do to occupy them. A good example of something to keep your birds occupied for hours is to hang an entire head of cabbage from the coop ceiling on a cord. The jumping and pecking at the cabbage head will occupy your chickens all day so that they are too busy to actually get into trouble. What can I say? Grandma was right. Idle hands are the devil's workshop. So make sure your chickens' hands are busy. Another important tip to prevent egg eating from ever starting is to make sure that you never feed your chickens eggs in a form that they are going to be able to recognize as eggs. If you are inclined to feed your birds eggs, then cook them first so that they won't recognize that what they're eating is an egg. If you're going to feed them back their own shells for calcium purposes, then you really do need to first bake up the shells and pulverize them so that they won't realize what they're eating is an egg and link up in their minds that, oh, there's more of those eggs in the nesting boxes. Lastly, one of the most basic and important strategies to prevent egg eating is to gather your chickens' eggs every day in a timely manner. Let's face it, they can't eat what's not available to them. What do you do, though, if one of your birds has unfortunately tasted this forbidden food? There are several things you can do to quickly address the problem and break chickens of their egg-eating habits before they get out of hand. First, if you know who the egg-eating chicken is, quickly, and I mean quickly, remove him or her from the flock and keep this chicken isolated until you can break that bird of its egg-eating habits. By removing the bird from the flock, it can't teach the other chickens to also become egg eaters. If the egg-eating habit is happening in a specific nest box, then close down and or remove that nest box from business. Another idea is that you should darken your nest boxes. I've read that some chicken keepers actually use curtains with their nesting boxes. The idea behind putting curtains on a nest box is that the darkness reduces hens from pecking eggs while in the box, and the curtain or the darkness makes it harder for passing by chickens to actually notice eggs in the boxes. Another strategy to help break chickens from egg eating is to put dummy eggs in the nest boxes. A dummy egg is a fake egg that's either made of wood or ceramic and actually looks and feels like a real egg. The idea is that when a hen pecks at the dummy egg, thinking that it's a real egg, that the feeling is very unpleasant and there is no gooey, delicious center provided. If you are hard-pressed to actually get your hands on some actual dummy eggs, you can use golf balls in the nests for the same purpose. I haven't used golf balls myself, so I don't know how fooled chickens are between golf balls and real eggs. I do know that ceramic dummy eggs, because I own some, actually are amazing. They really do feel and look and have a weight pretty close to a real egg. But what if the dummy eggs aren't getting the job done? Well then, another trick is to try ruining the taste of eggs for your offending birds. There are 2 methods suggested out in the chicken world for getting this done. One method suggests that you should take a raw egg and whip it up with a couple tablespoons of black pepper and put that out in the coop. The theory is that the birds will taste it, hate the flavor with all the black pepper in it, and not want to eat eggs anymore. The other methodology for ruining the taste of eggs for birds is to actually blow out an eggshell and then refill the hollowed out space inside the shell with yellow mustard. By the by, if you did not know this, chickens hate mustard. I mean, seriously, they hate the stuff. The idea is that when the offending chicken or chickens peck at these mustard-filled eggs, they'll break open, they'll taste the mustard, it'll be totally unpleasant, and they will associate in their mind a broken egg tastes like disgusting mustard, and the egg pecking will stop. Remember, if you're going to try this method, that is ruining the taste of eggs for chickens, it's important that you not forget that chickens can't taste capsaicin, which is what actually makes chili peppers taste hot. So if you're going to use this method, ruining the flavor of eggs for chickens, using hot sauce on chickens is going to fail. I have read online mixed results with trying to break chickens using this method. If you have a difficult egg-eating problem you need to break and other methods aren't working, then you should really consider installing what are called rollaway nest boxes. Here's what a rollaway nest box is. A rollaway nest box is a box that has its floor slanted towards the back of the box. At the very back of the box is a gap where the egg will literally roll down on this back slanted floor, drop into the gap between the floor and the back wall, and fall safely into a hidden compartment that stores the eggs in a place where the chickens cannot access them. Simple. They lay eggs, they can't eat them because they can't reach them. But let's say for whatever reason you can't install a rollaway nest box and you've tried the other methods and you still can't break your offending egg-eating bird of its habits. You may need to consider finding this bird a new home. Now I know what you're thinking, well, how is that going to fix egg eating? Well, here's the deal. Oftentimes, when a bird is moved into a new flock, just the sheer stress of moving into this new home, into a new flock, and being established into a new pecking order is enough to make that bird forget about its egg-eating ways. It's got too much to focus on, and it just seems to let that habit go. So if you have an egg-eating bird and you can't solve the problem and you can't get a rollaway nest box, you might consider trying to find it a new placement. Lastly, if everything else fails, some owners do find themselves in the very unpleasant position of actually having to cull the offending bird. And unfortunately, when I say cull, I do mean dispatching this bird. The best way to avoid having to kill a chicken with this bad habit is to be really vigilant to ensure that it never starts in the first place. So remember, it is incumbent on you, the flock owner, to prevent and avoid this problem as best as you can. But don't lose total heart. There are many, many examples out there of people who had egg-eating start in a flock and were able to use one or several of these methodologies and break their offending birds of these habits. If you'd like to see a video of a rollaway nest box and how it works, be sure and visit the Urban Chicken Podcast website for a video of that in today's show notes. That sound lets us know once again it's time for Sally's Side Notes. This past week, NPR published an article that playfully was poking fun at the market for chicken accessories, whether that be chicken diapers, chicken saddles, or a number of other chicken-related paraphernalia. You may have missed it, but indeed this article spread across social media this past week like wildfire. And what really struck me is that there were so many, and I mean many, non-chicken owners out there who hooted and howled at how ridiculous it was to have diapers for chickens. You know, silly chicken owners. I would note a couple of points in the article that are important. According to the editor of the Backyard Poultry magazine, who was interviewed for this NPR article, about half of their readership is actually owners of pet chickens rather than chickens used as livestock. And that made me think, if a chicken is regarded as a pet, then shouldn't we consider and judge the behavior of these pet owners alongside the behaviors of people who own more common household pets, such as dogs and cats? Now, a lot of people made a huge to-do about the ridiculousness of a chicken diaper. But I would argue that a chicken diaper does actually serve a purpose, which is to keep a bird from pooping in your house while you have it indoors for whatever reasons. Perhaps it's injured, perhaps the bird's ill and actually needs a little TLC care, which can only be effectively provided while staying inside the house for a short period. If you have to have a bird inside your house, certainly you'd want to have a chicken diaper on it. Let's also consider the chicken saddle, which the article also made a lot of fun of. A chicken saddle covers the bare back of hens who are missing feathers, either from pecking or mating, and this chicken saddle actually serves a real purpose to prevent further attacks or cannibalism on the bare-skinned bird. So if you really look at it, a chicken diaper or a chicken saddle serves a very practical purpose. So let's put these chicken pet accessories alongside some commonplace cat or dog pet accessories for judgment. You tell me, which is more ridiculous? A chicken diaper, which is designed to prevent poo from being spread all over your house, or a 3-story carpeted cat condo for the amusement of your felines? Which is more absurd, a chicken saddle or that dog Halloween costume and actually joining a parade to walk your dressed up dog around in costume for a human holiday? I think all of the smart alecky guffawing in the non-chicken world about chicken accessories is a perfect example of people living in glass houses. These non-chicken owners want to make fun of the chicken community, but haven't really considered how ridiculous their own behavior with their own preferred pets can and does look as well. I say anybody who would own a cat condo or dress their dog up for Halloween or buy any other number of absurd and inane cat or dog accessories really probably isn't in any position to be judging the chicken community over its chicken diapers and its chicken saddles. If you would like to take a look at that NPR article yourself and see what was written, I have provided you a link in today's show notes. Well, that's all I have for today's show. Please tune in again next week when we discuss another new and exciting chicken topic. You can find links to Lauren Scheuer's blog and her interview in today's show notes, as well as links to the Rollaway chicken box, chicken diapers, the NPR article, and actually a video loaded up into the website where you can actually see a Rollaway nest in action. I really do appreciate you listening to this week's episode, and as always, I do look forward to next week when we will get to talk again. Until then, me and the chickens wish you a good week. See ya! Thanks for listening to the Urban Chicken Podcast at www.urbanchickenpodcast.com. The theme music used on the Urban Chicken Podcast is Jenny's Theme, written and performed by Jason Shaw. You can find this at freemusicarchive.org. See you next week.